This conference will now be recorded.
So we completed three assignments. So everybody, I didn't check Tilly's assignment, but apart from her assignment, everybody's assignment looks good. It has exactly what I expected. So I believe you all understood what is class, what is object, what is instantiation, what is initialization, what is class attributes, all those things. Or at least you understood how to write it. Even though you didn't understand any of these tech words, you at least understood how to write and how to access. But actually, the technical terms, right? It is very important because in real world, most of the people will not use object only. When I was learning, everybody was selling object class. But when I was writing in my company, everybody will call it as a instance only. They'll tell this instance is not working, this instance is not created properly, all those things. So, tech words are really important. So, I'll just go through again all those tech words with you guys. So please respond. You can unmute yourself and respond whenever is needed, whenever I ask question. So why we need class? Um, let's say you wanted to track n number of students in a college and they have different attributes like they have multiple data associated with them like name, sex, age, marks, address, all those things. So if a list is used or a dictionary is used, it would be very difficult to store multiple students, not just to store, to access their attribute. If a list of students can be stored, but how do you access their attributes like what is their name, what is their sex, what is their age, what is there, even if you use dictionary, how many elements you will be having inside it, how many key value pair you will have associated. So it would be little, it won't be feasible. So that is why they have created a new concept called class. But we have created multiple problems, we have solved multiple problems, we have written multiple code, but we never use class because they are simple and straightforward. Whenever you have to store multiple data, for example, in a shopping e-commerce world, they will have multiple products, and for that product multiple seller will be there. If Amazon is selling iPhone will be from different sellers. You will see, and when you give iPhone 14, you will see multiple, it should show only one iPhone 14, right? But it shows multiple iPhone 14. They are from different seller, and some will have delivery charge, some will not have delivery charge. The price also might differ between each seller. So Amazon should have seller detail, buyer detail, and seller will not just sell that iPhone 14, they might sell something else also. So to store all this huge data, you should be going for class and object. So that is why this concept is introduced, and this is where you have to use this. And 1 minute. Yeah. And I mean, this is a class. Class is nothing but a user-defined data type in Python. If you want to create your own data type, if you want to create your own object, then you have to go for a class. So, what are all objects? In a real world, everything is object. Mouse, keyboard, chair, table, pen, everything is object. Likewise, in programming world, everything is object like integer, string, floating point number, arrays, dictionary, or all objects. They are also called data types because they define the type of that particular data. When you give some data, if it is alphabetical, it is called string. If it is number, it is called integer. If the number has decimal point, it is called float. So since they define the type of the data, it is also called data type, but they are all objects. Okay, every single integer you create is an object. Any single string is an object. Okay, so if you want to create your own data type, then you have to use class, and it will always have this keyword called class, all in lowercase, and next to which you have to create a name for class. It should start with capital letter. And what class contains, inside the class, what you will write inside the class, you will have class attribute. This is called class attribute, which is nothing but a variable that belongs to the class. This is nothing but variable, right? This is a variable, but it is also called a class attribute because it belongs to class. And then mm, class is also called a blueprint to create an object. So you will know how to create an object. When you look at this statement, you will know how to create an object. You have to use this name and also these parameter to create an object if you want to create your own object. So it defines a blueprint how to create an object. It tells you what all the variable available inside the class, that is class attribute, and what all the methods available inside the class so that you can go and use. Okay. So here, this is an employee. This class contains employee records. So you will be creating multiple employee. Each employee is an object, and here you will know. Yeah, I can display the count of employees, and I can display employee details. So the class will do only this. So this is a blueprint. I'll know only this I can do using this class. So that is why it is called blueprint for creating an object. And uh, these attributes, these attributes created inside the class, that is called class attributes or variable inside the class, they are public, which can be accessed by anybody, any object. They just have to use dot. You can either use employee dot employee count, or you can use like employee one dot employee count. In both the way, it will display your data. So we have seen in some, um, let me, so here we have given dog dot species and my dog dot species. So my dog is an object of the class called dog. It can even access the species and the class can access the species. So this class attributes can be accessed by anybody. Just you have to use dot operator. Okay. So general syntax for classes, class name, and then you can write anything. You can create a variable, you can create methods inside it, right? And then coming to object. So this is called object. When this is called also called instance of a class. So it is a unique entity which will have its own state and behavior. What is state and behavior? State is nothing but, for example, when you go for dog example, um, when you go for dog example, species is their state, and name is their state, breed is their state, but bark is their behavior. So variables are called states, and these variables, this is a class variable, this is a method variable which is created inside the method. These are called state, which will make them unique. Every student has their state, name is their state, sex is their state. And then bark, when you go for method name, this is called behavior, like dogs will bark and cow will moo, something like that. So these are called behavior. So what I was telling, every object will have their unique state and behavior associated with it. So this employee state is Zara and 2000 is their state. Okay. Uh, so displaying that particular employee is a behavior. You are displaying it. They will have the unique data, and yeah, object is an instance of class. You should always remember it is an instance of class. Here what we are doing, we are creating an object. What we are doing, we are just giving a new name to an object, and then we are calling a class name. And then whatever is there in this init method, those detail you are passing as a input. So here next to employee, you don't have any parameter, you don't have inputs. But how you're passing your inputs? So whatever is there in the init method, that detail you are passing here as an input. So this is how you can instantiate an object, which means an object is created. This is how you can create an object. You can create multiple objects for the same class, but each object will have its own attributes, own detail, own data. Okay. And yeah, we saw what a state behavior, and there is one more thing called identity. An object has state, And behavior is nothing but the method. State is nothing but the variable or attributes. Both variable and attributes both are same. And then identity is nothing but it has their unique name. How do I identify that particular employee? So here my dog is a identity and your dog is a different identity. And self. So the creation of methods or everything similar to how we usually create, but the only difference is you always have self. So here inside the class, all these are called all the methods created inside the class. Inside the class, whatever method you create, it should have a parameter called self, which will be the first parameter. Okay, and when you call that particular method later using your object, you need not pass that self because here by default Python is passing self inside it. So you need not pass self inside it, but whenever you create, you should have self by default. Okay, this indicate that these methods are created inside the class. So this can be used by all the objects. So always it has a first parameter as self. If some method is not having any parameter, still you just give self alone. Still you have one argument that is called self. And while calling, you need not pass because Python is passing by default. When you see self, you will know that these are the methods created inside class and can be accessed by object of that class. That class object of that particular class can access it. So is self a keyword in Python? No, it's not a keyword, it's a parameter name. So here, since name is a parameter variable, right? It is a parameter to this particular method, but it's also a variable. We call it variable, right? Because it is saving something inside it. Similarly, it's a parameter name used, but it's not a keyword. And next, the init. This is a weird method we see now, right? After we started understanding what is oops and class, we started seeing this method. So every class will have one method called init, which is nothing but initialization, which means this method is called when you create an instance. When you create an instance, you can just give employee open bracket and close bracket, but you are passing some data. For example, you can still create a list called list. You can still create a list. This will not throw you any error, but this is an empty list. You are creating a list. But when I give list equal to, here I'm initializing the value. I'm just adding the value. Here I'm just defining. I'm telling that this is a variable and this variable is of an object of a type called list. Only this I'm telling here. Only here I'm creating an object, but here I'm passing values for that object. Right? This is called initialization. This is just defining. You're telling what is what, and but here you're giving the value inside. What is the value it contains? So this method is used when you create a object. So here Zara and 2000 is passed, and here you see Zara and 2000 will be saved inside that particular employee record. Employee one record is created, and inside that name is Zara and salary is 2000. So that is how this is used. Okay, so every class will have one init method. This is also called a constructor, which is also called. So this is the first method, which is a special method. It is also called constructor or initialization method. Init. That is why we take the first half of the name called initialization and we give it here. It has double underscore here and before and after method. Okay, that Python calls when you create a new instance of this class. When you create a new instance, this is what called. So that is why you're passing data for that. Okay, and here you see I have created. So whenever you access some variable, also you give self dot name and self dot salary. Whenever you access some variable inside the method, you always give self. So that is how when you create employee one, this telling this particular name is just for employee one and this particular salary is for employee one. When you create again employee two, this particular name is just for employee two, self. So but here you see whenever they create an employee, it keeps adding the name and salary to that particular employee. But here you see employee count is increased. For example, only for employee one is this called, if you have self here instead of employee, if you give self, only for that particular employee, account will be added as one. When again a next employee comes, account will be again one because for that particular employee you are adding one. But this should be global for all the employees, right? All the employees, whenever a new employee comes, this should be added, but not just for that particular employee. If you add, for example, you're creating an employee called Anu, name and salary is given, and employee count is plus one. Maybe if it is one, it will be plus one, which will be two, right? Again, employee two comes, Tilly comes, and name and salary is defined. When employee count is incremented, it cannot access employee one count, right? Anu's count will not be accessed for Tilly. So again, it will be one or two, right? In this case, you cannot really track the count of the employee. That is why we are using a global variable, which is created, which is nothing but class attributes or class variable. The variable employee count is a class variable or class attribute whose value is shared among all the instances of this class. So it is shared. So if it is shared, Tilly can access the count of Anu. Then upon the count of Anu, Tilly is going to add one, and Sam is going to add one upon the count of Tilly. So the real count will be calculated. So here we are accessing class variable. How we are accessing class name dot variable name, right? Class name is employee and the variable name is employee count. So what is this called? Class attribute, which is nothing but a variable, global variable inside the class. Okay. Is it clear, guys? All those technical words. You know how to create an object. So I'm creating multiple object, and then I'm also creating an object using the parameter by passing the parameter of init method, and I'm also later using all the methods inside the class. So how do I use employee one object name dot the method name? Since this employee count is a global variable, I'm accessing it using class name. Sam, Tilly, Rajita, did you understand this?
Can we use this employee.emp count in employee method also, or only in the
Yeah, we
init method?
can. I mean, employee, not employee method. Employee object, right? EMP1 object you're asking, right?
No, not that one. The above one in init method we have incrementing the count.
Yeah.
That one can we use in other methods also? That
Yeah, we can use another method also. So this
okay.
is can be accessed anywhere inside your code. It is global. Since I am not doing any other logic here apart from assigning the self name and salary. So init what it does, it just assign this value to the variable. Since no much logic is written, it would be simpler to add it here instead of adding in any other, because this looks very simple, but going forward when you in a real world scenario, this method will have an n number of lines. So I don't want to complicate that by adding this there. So I'm
Okay.
adding it here.
Okay.
So you understood what is instance, what is instantiation, and what is initialization, what is init method, and what is self, and what is class attribute or class variable. All those things you guys understood, and I mean, I know you already understood because that is why you could write your code. But did you now uh, uh, create a very good memory of all those things, all those terms? Because until unless you're having very good memory of this, it will be very difficult in going in next classes, because we are each each day the topic is going to get harder and harder. We are going to see from beginner to intermediate visa, and So every day it will the level will be harder because you're moving towards the advanced Python learner. So once you don't understand this clearly and you don't mug up all those terms, it will be difficult in tomorrow's class. Okay. So I have whatever I have said, all those things I have added to the notes. I'll be adding it to your notes also. So mug up those terms. We have no other way. But going forward, when we see multiple examples of class, then it will create a good memory. But before that, you try to mug up all those things so that tomorrow you will not be confused. You will not be, yeah, you will not be confused.
Hello.
So the next topic, yeah,
Anu,
yeah,
can you
Sirisha.
explain line number 16? Like
Line
percent,
number 16.
mm-hmm,
Oh,
percent.
actually, yeah, ignore this, sorry. So this, when I was teaching students using Python 2, I wrote that. So this is how it will look. Sorry. So this is a very old code.
Also in Python 3, we need not use those things.
Yeah, that is not required. So Python 2, it was different syntax. This was created when I was teaching Python 2.
Okay.
Okay, now we understood how to create an object method, how to call the method. So we can call this variable. We can even call this variable like how we have to call this variable or any variable inside the method. You just have to call by employee one object name dot variable name. Object name dot method name is also possible. Object name dot variable name is also possible. Okay. So in this class, yeah, here you are telling your dog this is an object name and the method name variable name is name, right? So you're calling that. This is going to print Daisy, right? You can access the variable also, you can access the method also, you can access this class attribute also, everything you can access, but with dot operator. So next, we are going to see what is inheritance and polymorphism, which is a uh, important thing in OOPS. That is why it's called OOPS. Without inheritance and polymorphism, we cannot call them as OOPS. These are very important topic. So to understand inheritance and polymorphism, it will take lots of time, lots of project you have to create to clearly understand them. So initially, when we were learning any programming language, we never used to write all those small programs. We have written no multiple function, multiple solution, multiple problem. We never did that, but we will create one project to understand inheritance and polymorphism because that was little hard. So let's see what are they. Okay. So first, let's see inheritance. Inheritance is a way to form new classes using classes. So using the old class, you're going to create a new class. Till now, we saw creating an object using a class, right? Here, you're creating an object using the class as a blueprint by giving the class name and passing these values. But how to create a class using another class? That is called inheritance. Let me pen on more. But good job, guys, about the assignment. I didn't expect that you will answer all three problems because only one class we saw what is class and object. That was also very confusing. So inheritance is way to form a new class using the existing class. A newly formed class will be called a derived class, and the existing class will be called a base class. So from the base class, a derived class is created. Okay. So animal is a base class, and using animal, a derived class is created called dog. They also you have the functionalities of the class. So how like an object, whenever you create an object for class, you can use all the methods, and which is nothing but we have seen that as a state behavior identity, right? Identity is a method name, object name, and state is nothing but the variables, and behavior is nothing but method. So all those behavior and state are accessed by the object. Similarly, this inherited class, which is a derived class, will can access all these method, variable, everything. Okay, so this is called inheritance. You're inheriting something from your grandfather. Your father came from your father. You came, so you have some attributes of them, right? Your nose, your eyes, something might be similar to your grandfather or father. So you're inheriting the family, right? So that is how it is here. A dog is an animal. It is inherited from animal because it has some characteristics of an animal, but not all animals are same, but it has some characteristics of animal, right? So the important benefit of inheritance are code reuse. If you want to have a another class, and you can access this data, then it will increase code reuse, and also it reduces the complexity of a program. So the derived class override the functionality of a base class. Um, for example, you can tell that um, your father is there and your mother is also there, and your mother, after getting married to her father, if your father name is Sharma, your mother is called uh, your mother is called Mrs. Sharma, right? So she is called Mrs. Sharma also. She has her own name. So her name also is used. Mrs. Sharma is also used, right? So Mrs. Sharma is derived from Mr. Sharma. His name is used, okay? And that particular person has their own name, okay? So the own name will also override Mrs. Sharma, right? Which means override means, for example, override is nothing but you can imagine like reassignment. So when you have a when I mean overriding is exactly not reassignment, but I'm telling it as an example. When you have a number which is initialized as 0, what happened? I'm not inside Python. Okay. Then you have a number which is initialized as 0. Later, what you can do, you can override it, which means you are erasing whatever is written already and you are writing on top of it. That is nothing but override. So here I'm giving number is equal to 2. Sorry, number is equal to 1. Now it will have it will have 1 inside it. So similarly, here the derived class override the functionality. It also extend the functionality. Extend means it using the functionality which is already available in the inside the base class. Override means if the same method is used here and something else is defined inside it, that definition is what taken. It right override it. It removes this and creates a whole new meaning for that particular method. Okay. Let me run this. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Here we have a super class, I mean a base class called animal, and it has initialization method and then two other method, who am I, and eat. And here you see us derived class dog, which is derived from this class animal. And here again you see it also extends the functionality. animal init self. So it is using animal init, that also it is using here, and it is printing dog created. Okay, so how you create an object? Object name is equal to class name and then the parameter inside, whatever you have in init method, those parameter you pass. So here they are doing this. Base class name and then that particular method in itself that they are using this. So here we are directly passing the variables which are parameters of the init method, right? The parameters are passed here, values are passed here. So instead of that, they are using this particular whatever is there in line number 2, they are using that because it is a init method for animals. So that they are accessing using dot. Okay. And then I have a print statement. So here who am I is animal, but I'm overriding it because I'm using the same method, but I'm so for this dog, this is only will be printed. Okay, and then here you have eat, animal will eat, but dog will bark. It will not eat, it will bark. It has a new I mean different characteristics, right? Which is different from animal. So we have multiple parent statements. So here the dog on object based on dog is created based on derived class. Using the derived class, an object is created. So this object is created using derived class, not the base class. And who am I? And eat and bark. It is also accessing eat, which is inside base class, and it is also accessing bark, which is inside derived class. Okay, let's see how it what it displays. So when you call d is equal to dog, d is equal to dog. Okay, when you call d is equal to dog, it is going to this particular statement, this particular init, right? This is your class name, and then you are not passing anything because this method is not expecting any parameter. When you call this, so this particular method is called, right? Nothing but this method is called here. When you give employee and then two different value, this particular method is called and it is saved. The value is whatever you pass is saved into self.salary and self.name. Similarly, this method is called, and the first line of this method is nothing but it is calling this method. Inside this class, this method is called. So what is there inside it? Animal created. So that is what printed here. So this, when this is called while you creating an object, this line is done. Next line is dog created. That is what you see here. Okay. So this line is output is these two things. And who am I? D dot who am I? So it is going and searching who am I inside this class first. So it has dog, so it is printing. Then it is using eat, d dot eat. It is for searching it inside. No, it is not there. So it is going to their. So here, whenever you create a derived class in bracket, you have to give from which base class it is derived. So I'm giving a base class name. So it now goes and searches animal, and then it sees eat. So it is printing that eating. And then when it sees bark, it goes and see what is there inside it, this particular logic. So here we just have print statement. So it is printing this. So let's copy this.
We have who am I methods in both the classes, right?
Yeah, both the classes we have since
Which will take
uh,
first? It will take from the derived class first. It will search in the
yeah,
derived
because it overrides the base class. So whatever animal, this is overridden
over
by
it.
dog. So this is only
Oh,
will be printed.
okay.
So did I save this inheritance.py? Okay, this is printed. Okay, it first knows that there is a class, and then it goes to the first method of the class, second method, third method. So homa is a function. Method is nothing but a function, right? Function, and then it goes to the next class, and again inside. How to go out? So this class is done, and then the derived class. So here it is nothing but it is telling main.animal, a class. This class is called. Whenever you give animal, it is telling that is a class. And then init, and then who am I? Bark. Okay. And then d is equal to dog. So whenever you give d is equal to dog, when you call that class name, when you instantiate your method, I mean your object, so this particular method is called. I said that whenever you create an object using object name is equal to class name in bracket, you are passing some parameter, the init method is called. So it goes inside init method. By default, init method is only called whenever you create an object. So now, so it is telling dog object, okay. Then animal dot init. So it is telling animal is accessing dog. Dog, I mean this particular class dog main dog is accessing animal. So then it goes to the previous. How do I remove this? Okay, we have to. Okay, so it then goes to this particular line init dot self, because this particular animal object, I mean class is called. So it is printing animal created. Okay, then it is coming back, and then here you see the second line is dog created. So it is printing that. Okay, dog created is printed here. So this line is done. D dot for my. So here you see dog object. This is D is nothing but dog object, right? And then it is accessing who am I? So it is directly going inside dog only. If it is not there, then it will go inside the base class. Dog is printed. So it can access both if the object is created under the base using the base class, I mean using the derived class, it can access both base class and derived class, because a derived class can access the base class. It can extend the functionality of base class. So inside dog, you are using calling eating. I mean, it is actually going to animal and bark. So this is printed. Is it clear, guys, what is base class and derived class and how this can access everything?
Yes. Each method is not in the derived class, so it is searching in the base class.
If it is already there in the derived class, even if
In the
it is
derived
having
class,
the same name,
it will
then
print
it
only
is going to
the
use.
thing that is in derived class.
Okay. So here derived class inherits the functionality of base class, that is why it inherits this particular method called eat. But the derived class can also override, that is why it is modifying who am I, and it is giving its own print statement, and that is what printed here in who am I. It modifies the base class also, behavior of base class, and also it can have a new feature also. Okay, called bark. So here you saw three things. One is it is extending the inherits the functionality of base class. We are inheriting this eat, and then we are overriding the existing method, existing feature we are overriding. And third thing, the derived class can have its own method. Okay. Okay. So next thing what we are going to see is polymorphism. So we have seen that function will take different argument inside it, and method belongs to an object whichever they are acting on. In Python, polymorphism refers to the way in which different object classes can share the same method name. So different object classes can share the same method name, and they are not here, it is not inherited. So in this case, what we saw is override inherited can override. That is why we see same name, right? Same method name we see here, and they are used. But here you see speak is same method name, but these are not base or derived classes, they are independent classes, right? They are different classes, but still what they can do, they can different classes can share the same method name can be same. That is called polymorphism means that single method can have different variety, um, different faces. One faces belong to dog and one face belong to cat. It has multiple like multifunctionality person only. So when it is inside dog, it is called oof. When it is inside cat, it is called meow. So this is an example, but when you write a real logic, it will be completely different, right? So the same method can be used inside both two different classes. Okay. So here we have one class called dog, and here we have init and everything. And here what I'm doing, I'm creating an object called Nico, and this belong to a class called dog, and here I'm passing here in the cell you have to pass name, right? I'm passing that, and Felix, and here I'm passing Felix. So whenever I call, I tell Nico dot speak, it will print this only. Whenever I tell Felix dot speak, it will tell Mio. It is telling self dot name, which is nothing but this. Whatever is saved inside the self dot name is printed here, and then it says Mio. What happened? Okay, I haven't saved it. So it says, and Nico says oof, and Felix says Mio. So here this is different because this is a derived class. It can still have its own method. It can use a t name, I mean, use the same method name and override it. And without having this method, what is that, eat, without using creating them inside this, it can still access this. So here we saw same method name, but this is different. But here it is different. They are not base or derived. They have no relationship between them, but still they can use the same method name. But whenever it accesses Nico is nothing but, so here Nico is nothing but object of this class. So it goes inside this class and sees what is there inside speak, and then based on that it prints. Is it clear? So let me create one more thing here. I'm going to create a for loop here. I'm telling for pet in Nico and Felix. For each item, print pet dot speak. So let me comment this out. Control slash. Save this and run. Again, it says Nico says oof and Felix says Mio. Right? But they belong to different classes. This belong to one class and this belong to another class. Okay, and one more thing, what I'm going to do is here I have used for loop. So instead of for loop, I'm going to create a function here. Okay, so this is a function, and function name is pet speak, and here I'm Here I am passing parameter called pet, okay, and then I'm calling pet dot speak. So nothing but here we called Felix dot speak, right? So here I'm doing pet dot speak, and the pet is passed value. Nico is pet when this line is called, and you are calling the function and you are giving Felix as an input. So here Felix dot speak, right? So let me save this and run. Again, you see Nico says woof and Felix says meow because I have commented this. So all three, these three are doing the same thing, right? I can do it over function, I can do it using for loop, I can directly write multiple print function. So next topic is abstract class. So we saw how to create class, why class is needed, and how to create an object under it, and how to access a method inside the class, and also variable inside the method, and also a variable inside the class using your created object. Then we saw inheritance, which is nothing but a new class is deriving the functionality of the existing class, the base class. So you have base class and derived class, and your object, which is created using your derived class, can access both the base and derived class functionalities. Then we saw polymorphism, where two independent classes can have same method name inside it. Whenever you access, it is going to access the corresponding method name only. Even though name is same in memory, even though it is going to use the same name, but it access correctly because a set of memory is created for one class and set of memory is created for another class. So it goes and access it properly. Okay. So the next example is, so here we have abstract. So abstract class is the one which never expects to be instantiated. So here, for example, animal. No particular instance is created for this animal, right? We never create any instance for animal, but we create only for dog and cat, which are the base derived classes of animal. Only for those classes you are creating your own object. So here, it never expects to be instantiated. This is called abstract class because no instantiation is expected because it is already derived, the functionality is derived in different classes and objects are created using that particular class. So here we don't have any animal object, we have object only for dog and cats, although dogs and cats are derived from animals. Okay, so this is an abstract method defined only by, this is an abstract method and this is a constructor of the class. This is a constructor of class animal, and you don't have any init method here. You don't have any constructor here. But in previous inheritance, we saw there is one more constructor here for dog. But here you see, this is to just explain what is inheritance. But you see here, in real world, this is how it is written. You are not having any constructor here. But still, whenever you are giving without the init method, how you can create an object based on the class. So a class should have init method. Whenever you create your own object, that particular init method is called and values are passed, correct? But you don't have that constructor class. Using the constructor class only, the object is constructed. So without doubt, how it is going to do? So here it is going to use the base class constructor. Got it? So in real time, what is an example of polymorphism is you have a plus operator, right? When you use a plus operator in number, it does arithmetic calculation. 1 plus 2 is going to give you 3. But when you use the same plus operator in string, Vijay plus Samantha, it's going to give Vijay space Samantha, right? It is not going to add anything or do any mathematical operation. So that is called that is a real world polymorphism. The same operator does different things. With it does a different operation using init object. I mean integer object, and it does a different operation in string object. It is the same operator, right? So that is a real life example for polymorphism. And also, like, you can use different tools for the same functionality. Like you have Word, you have PDF, you have Excel files. You're going to save something data inside that. You're having different tools, right? You're opening different file types. This is also called polymorphism. So in abstraction, what happens? Your derived class is not having constructor, but it is using the constructor of the base class, and then it is going to access. So this method is overridden, so it's going to use only this data for this SS, right? Without having constructor also, in your base class, you can still create an object based on the constructor of the, I mean, in the derived class, you need not have constructor because you can still use a constructor of the base class. Is it clear, guys? You understood inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. We can do in while loop also. You have to just create a logic. So you can create a list, and inside the list you can put all the object name. Later in while loop you can tell that until the until you reach the last index, that is until it becomes false, run this logic. That's all. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Any question? If we don't have anything to discuss, we can wind up here, guys.
Here in this abstraction, can
Mm-hmm.
we should not use new methods, right? Like can we create new methods in this
Yeah,
derived
still we can
classes?
create your
Oh,
new method and we can still run.
oh,
Because anyway, you are giving your dog clearly, right?
okay.
So whatever you have inside dog, it you can use it.
So now we need not write the init method for this derived
Yeah,
classes.
yeah. So the only difference is you are not writing the init method for the derived class.
But in inheritance, while you are teaching, you have used that, right?
Huh. So initially I was showing you have to
Okay.
have constructor. Then later I'm showing without the constructor also in your base
Also, we
class
can use.
you can work.
Okay. Sam has asked one question in the chat box.
Why the plus actor name? Oh, again, this is all Python.
For concatenating.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
sorry, I didn't realize it.
The plus is used just for concatenating only, right here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, guys, we can wind up. If nobody has any doubt, we can meet tomorrow. And thanks,
Th-
guys, for completing all the assignments.
Thank you.
Yeah, it gives me a confidence that you all understood properly. And I hope it gives you also the confidence that you can create your object and class.
Now for this program, what is the output? We'll get both dog.
Yeah, so here you have two print statement, right?
Yes,
And this is the output. Where is that?
can run once.
Fido says woof. This is a method inside dog, and this is a method inside cat.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.